What about the central point, though, that both of these made, which is principally that pornography creates a fantasy world? What it does is...
Yeah, so does MTV with Christina Aguilera shaking her booty.
Wait,
say, honey, why can't you do that?
Wait a minute.
You're not playing porn on that.
No, let me just finish, though. The point they were making is that by creating a fantasy world, a fictitious world, it rather makes reality look very banal and tedious by comparison. Can you see, do you accept the point that Craig was making, that actually by using pornography, you're inevitably going to feel dissatisfied with a real, authentic relationship with a partner?
Hell no. Are you kidding me? What kind of idiot must you be? You watch MTV and see these sexy girls shaking their booty. You look at Pam Anderson or Lindsay Lohan or Britney Spears. See sexy girls in the already role. You're going to blame porn for that?
No, but answer the specific question about creating a fictitious view
of
sexuality. Yes, but how do you accept Craig's point that by having this imagined universe, you actually create a sense of mediocrity about the reality, because the woman you're with may not engage in the kind of practices that you're happy to watch.
But the thing is, that's what makes it kind of like a marital aid sometimes. You know, you tell you and your wife, look at a film together and say, looks kind of sexy. We call it a standing ovation. You stand up, you leave the room, and you practice in the bedroom. You get through half a porn film. We're not offended by that when the audience walks out on us. So you see something you like, maybe you want to try out a fantasy that you want to try out. Look, anything you want to see in porn, they're going to have. Old girls, young men, sugar mommies, sugar daddies, black on white, black on black. All kinds of orifices. Whatever your fantasy may be, porn's going to create it for your fantasies. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less.
Donnie, he has a fairly cogent argument. It's fantasy. There's nothing wrong with that. It seems unharmful, harmless.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience that that's not the case. I mean, my own marriage was torn apart by porn.
Ask these kids here.
One second.
And I'm sure that every single one of us knows someone whose marriage or relationship failed.
So your marriage failed because of pornography?
It did, yeah.
And why?
I wish I knew. I mean, it was stupidity.
I mean, you don't think it failed more just because your wife was insecure that you're working with beautiful women every day, and maybe she didn't trust that?
No.
We sympathize with your problem. We sympathize. Well, I don't want to make fun of you for that, and I feel bad about that.
I'm not making
you can't take your situation and then force it on other people.
Let me just finish.
The point is that we run across this time after time after time, and I'm not even, you know, my wife didn't have a problem as far as jealousy with other girls. She just had a problem with the fact that this is not the way things are supposed to be, and this is something that I don't want you involved with, and if you're going to be involved with it, I can't be with you.
Okay, but that's your personal experience, but do you accept the point that Ron makes, which is principally that you and Craig, to some extent, have been using a number of anecdotes, but actually the empirical evidence, the evidence-based, peer-reviewed research that's been done in this area is entirely equivocal. There's no real evidence that anybody's been able to come up with that pornography is profoundly damaging in the way that it was for you.
Well, the pornography, whether or not you want to argue if it hurts or harms relationships, the fact of the matter is that people are still being harmed in it. Ron says that the examples I gave him are not right about the number of people being hurt, and then he says, I can name off blah, 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 and he names on his hands how many people are successful. And I can tell you that there's 3 girls a day that I would talk to and recruit into the business. So for every, like I said before, every success story, there are hundreds who were hurt.
And I was saying, we've been doing this for 6 years, so to me, I wouldn't have a job if what I'm saying isn't true. I didn't set out to become a porn pastor. I started a site because I was a youth pastor, and I saw my kids in my youth group struggling with this. 6 years later, a staff of people, 70 million people at our website, 500,000 people using our accountability software. It proves to me that there's a need for this, that you know, Ron says, oh, you know, it's just a few people. I've taken people to jail. I've sat as marriages have been destroyed. Every week I'm at a church and a woman comes up to my booth every week in tears saying, this is what I lost my marriage to. Because they can't compete with this pornography. Most people view porn all by themselves. 76% of you that watch porn watch it all by yourself. It's a dirty little secret. No one knows. And it gets very progressive. It will get you to do things you never thought you would do.
Most therapists have said, and this is Masters and Johnson, Kinsey report, that it is okay to fantasize while you're with your own wife, husband, or spouse. If you're in a monogamous relationship, you're together for many, many years, it isn't always that easy. Often you might like to use some sexual aids, marital aids, such as a porn film, dressing up, fantasy role-playing. Many therapists say that's perfectly healthy.
Okay, Ron, but
let's one with 5,000 women.
One second.
I'm not saying.
But Ron, you are the, I guess, the very incarnation of many male dreams. You've achieved your career and you've spent your life appearing in over 2,000 movies. I don't know how many people you've had sex with. But can I ask you, honestly to answer, has your life been fulfilling?
That's a heavy question. I mean, I chose to, I wanted to be an actor most of my life, and porn has actually led me to get some really nice mainstream work. So I'm kind of I like what's happened with it. Half this crowd saw Boondock Saints, am I correct? And I've done a lot of regular films because I've done porn. So I think I like to say I wanted more to do more mainstream, but I'm okay with it. I'm happy with it.
And you feel that your life has been fulfilling?
Yeah.
Monique, we've heard comments from Craig and from Donnie about humiliation. And there are many academics and indeed commentators, writers, who would suggest that one of the key problems, just general problems with pornography, is that it's about some form of humiliation. It's about seeing a woman degraded in some way. Do you not accept that there's some truth in that?
Well, there's definitely some truth in it. I mean, there's definitely sites out there and things out there and movies out there that I don't like to see and that I think are degrading, but those women are choosing to do it. Nobody's holding a gun to their head saying, you do this now or you're going to die.
Well, they may have financial reasons for doing it.
Well, that's their own problem. You're still making that choice. As an 18-year-old person, you're considered an adult, and you're still making that choice to do that. There's other things in this world. You're taking the easy way out, and it's basically a cop-out if you say, oh, well, it's their fault. You made that choice.
Well, let me put to you a scenario then.
I mean, I had things like that thrown at me, and I chose not to make that choice. When I first got in the industry, I was offered a ton of money to do boy-girl, and I said, no, I'm not ready. I knew I mentally couldn't handle it, and I wasn't ready to do it. So I didn't do it. It's these own girl stupidity doing it on their own. I was 19 years old when I got in the business, and I was smart enough to say no.
And some people find degrading if you have a Now, I know a lot of girls out there with a show of hands. No, I won't do that to you. Okay. They'll go. I mean, some people don't mind. I don't mind when a girl. Me.
Let me just.
I mean, some people don't find it that degrading. You say, what's degrading?
But can I just go back to
yes,
you, Monique?
You can.
There is a serious point, though, because in some cases, and I put this to you hypothetically, but somebody is offered a huge sum of money to be upon, or to be upon, or to be by three men. Mm-hmm. Can you see why many people looking at that would say, well, that is humiliating?
You know, I definitely think it's humiliating. I mean, I wouldn't want to be urinated on or do that to somebody else. But like I said, we have choices in life, and they chose to do that. Nobody forced them.
And just for the record, when they would have those S&M and B&D videos, which are not necessarily hardcore, there's just as much this way as there is this way. They say, how about the man being the master, the girl's the slave? Yet those who follow that line of videos know that it's actually usually the other way around. It's the woman who's the dominatrix, the ball gag is in the man's mouth, and she's putting it in bad places and whipping him. So very often it's, you know, people like all kinds of fantasies, you know?